Hello everyone, I'm Professor Geek. Welcome back to my channel, and welcome to a very Joss Whedon-centric review. These are two titles that came out just last week, I believe. So a Dr. Horrible one-shot by Joss Whedon from Dark Horse Comics, and a new Firefly series from Boom Studios by Greg Pak. So I'm going to talk about these a little bit here. I am actually a big fan of Joss Whedon's storytelling. I know that's not always the case with people in the Comics Geek community or in, you know, a lot of the Indiegogo creators or whatever, but he's a good storyteller. Now, he is an insufferable SJW, but he's not to the level of obnoxious that I'm unable to separate creator from the art from the artist, and that is a problem for me quite a bit, actually, with a lot of comic creators and celebrities who are just constantly on Twitter and just won't shut up and, you know, are antagonizing their fans or whatever. But in Joss Whedon's case, you know, there's the embarrassment of the Justice League and then his ex-wife saying things about him and stuff like that. So I think he's been kind of put away into a little bit of a shame silence for a bit anyway. So he's not really, you know, being that obnoxious. But the fact is, the man can write a story, and he's a great director. He's an amazing director for a team story. You know, so that's why he was so perfect for Firefly and then Serenity and whatnot. And I even like the Buffy days. I love Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Angel when it was on TV, and I understand people talking about how the influence of that show, it kind of makes a lot of SJWs more insufferable, the way they talk or whatnot and stuff. But not the show's fault. Of its time, it was a great series, I thought. So anyway, I'm a fan of his writing, and so we'll go ahead and start with Dr. Horrible, since he actually wrote this comic book. These are both properties he created, of course, and Dr. Horrible's sing-along blog, I think I remember somewhere seeing that was like 10 years ago. Man, it does not seem like 10 years ago. I feel so incredibly old. But I actually show this film to my students when we're looking at film analysis in one of my courses, and none of them have heard of it, of course, but they all just love it. They think it's great. And there's so much in the film. It's a solid movie. So, solid stories, solid film, solid direction and everything. So I couldn't find it anywhere. I was looking for it, but I do actually have another comic book that was written, I think, by Jed Whedon. And it was a Dr. Horrible comic book that told the story of when Billy was a young child. And I think he was looking up to the hero, the superhero of that time or whatever, until he saw the superhero get his butt kicked by one of the supervillains. And then that was the story of how Billy suddenly began to, you know, be enamored with villainy and want to become one of the supervillains out there to create change or whatever. And he was, of course, picked on and bullied, you know, in school and everything. So that was a fun little story. I wish I could find the comic. It's in storage, I guess, somewhere. But I had that. And then this one was going to be written by Joss Whedon. So I thought, that's great. It's just a one-shot. It's not a new series or anything like that. I wish it would be, because I love this story and I wanted more from the universe. And he keeps saying that he's going to do a sequel, but I don't really think that's going to happen. I don't know what are any updates on that. So anyway, you start reading this story, and I'll just show you a little bit here. I'm not going to spoil it for you, but the title of the story is called Best Friends Forever. You think, well, what's up with that? Billy and, you know, Dr. Horrible and Captain Hammer, that's, you know, they're the two opponents there. And you find out within the first couple pages that they're like best friends now. And this does take place so many years after, you know, I guess it takes place around 10 years after Dr. Horrible. So this is post-Penny, post the Penny death and all of that. So that's, you know, that's a big deal. And it, you wonder, how are they friends? You know, I don't get that. Did I miss something? Is there a comic in between? But no, don't worry about that. It's explained later, and it's explained very, very well, actually. So it's not, trust me, just read the book. But another great thing about it is we get to develop that universe a little bit. For example, we see Hourglass. She was mentioned in the movie, I think, when Moist was saying that Hourglass knows a kid who grows up to be president or whatever, and stuff like that. So, great character there. And it's the humor. Joss Whedon can write humor. He's really quite funny, and this is just hilarious. She's in Dr. Horrible's headquarters there screaming for help, and she says, well, first off, have you got a tampon anywhere? Really, what? And of course Billy's like, what? And Captain Hammer, I got a bunch in the ham cycle and some Motrin. You never know when a visitor might get a visitor. It's gross, but not a deal breaker. That's just that's so Captain Hammer, and that's hilarious. And there's I won't ruin all the little moments of humor, but all of that runs through here. So if you like Dr. Horrible's sing-along blog, you will absolutely like this series. I do want to show you one, because they do continue to oh shoot, I can't think of it. But Moist shows up in the end here at some point too, and that was cool. And you see one of the members of the Evil League of Evil is there with them too. I forgot exactly who it was. The evil Thomas Jefferson guy, or Robespierre, or no, I forgot his name. Anyway, so that was cool. The only one bad thing I can say about this book, and this is a mark of where Joss Whedon is now with his SJW nonsense. There's one little line in this book that's clearly an SJW little agenda thing plotted in there, and it's so out of place. It's not a big deal. It's not like, you know, I still love the book and I still recommend the title, but I'm just going to mention it because it's an example of how somebody's little agenda, just in one single line, can just really take people out of the story and ruin it for them. You know, not ruin the whole story, but just really, for such a great storyteller, this is just nonsense. So Billy gets bumped on the head at this one point, and he sees Penny in his dream, in his mind, and she says, you know, I'm you, you know, I'm just, this is a dream or whatever. And he's saying, yeah, but we're trying to you know, turn back time or whatever. And Hourglass had said that wouldn't work or whatever. And Penny says, Hourglass explained very conclusively why that won't work. You and Hammer both kind of actually'd her. Also, Hammer's... So, actually, it took me a second to even realize what the heck this line was talking about. What are you... What? And then finally I realized, oh, she's trying to say that, oh, you guys were mansplaining. You guys were, you know, telling the woman, actually, blah, blah, blah. No. First of all, that's just stupid, okay? Just because the person you're talking to has a vagina doesn't mean that you're suddenly unable to question them and you're never allowed to you know, want to think outside the box. He's a supervillain. He's a mad genius. He would try to do something like that that's perfectly in character. Second of all, that is not in character for Penny to say anything like that. If you've seen the movie, she's not that kind of character. She would never have said anything like that. And it's not even in Billy's head, since that Penny was just really a dream, you know, within Billy's head. That's not even something that he would have said. So that was just a silly, stupid little... And again, it's not big, it's not a big deal, but just that one little slip of a line ruins such an otherwise perfect flow and everything like that. So that's why I tell people all the time, it doesn't matter what your agenda is or what your beliefs are. If you're trying to slip it in and you're trying to force it, and it's not something that the characters would say or something that serves the story, leave that crap out. But I do still recommend this. It's a lot of fun, a one-shot. If you like the Dr. Horrible film, you'll love this. Pick it up. If you've never seen it or don't care about the Dr. Horrible film, then this won't mean anything to you. But there's that. Now we move on to a series. And this is from Boom Studios. Like I said, Greg Pak is writing. And this is a series. I actually followed... Serenity has had a few series. This was the first one, which was... I think this was Those Left Behind, which was like a little mini... supposed to bridge the gap between the series and the movie, Serenity. And then there came this one. It's called Better Days. It was a story that was set back during the Firefly series when all of them were still on the ship and nobody was dead and all that nonsense stuff. So a lot of stories are told back in that time because that really is the golden period. That's the chemistry, that's the crew people like. I do think it's a mistake Joss Whedon makes to constantly kill people off in all of his movies. Sometimes it works, and I understand why he does it. I think he went one too far in the Serenity film, but that's a conversation for another time. It takes place back in that time where the whole crew is aboard. It's before the events of the Serenity movie, and it's just before Inara is going to leave the ship. So Inara wants to leave the ship for this big city finally. You know, if we've watched the series, she's part of the crew, or, you know, rents out one of the shuttles there, and then by the time that we get to Serenity, she's no longer on the ship. So this tells the story of just before she's about to leave, and this thing happens, and Greg Pak does a good job of really getting into these characters. Mal truly sounds like Captain Mal. Everything he says, you can hear it in his voice. It's very, very much in character, as well as Wash. Jane's kind of easy, you know, but these are characters. They really do sound like the characters you know and love just speaking. So I do love that. The other cool thing about this story arc that's being told here is that it's set in that time period, but there are flashbacks and there are consequences to be dealt with because of some of the stuff that Mal and Zoe did in the war. So, you know, they were fighting for the Browncoats, yeah, the Browncoats fighting the Alliance, and some cool things about their war stuff like that is coming back to haunt them a little bit. So that's a cool little thing to go about. He really does play with some of the Western genres, and it looks like we're going to get a solid story. The pacing of this issue was perfect too. Honestly, it felt like the beginning of an episode of a show. The way we fade in. I like the fact that we fade in on an establishing shot, and a lot of people who write comic books, especially amateur script writers, they think, oh, okay, well, I'm writing a comic book. I need an establishing shot, and I need to move. No, you're not writing a movie. You're writing a comic book. And establishing shots, whatever, what you really need is a hook. That first page should be a hook to get people to turn the page. It shouldn't just be a whole page wasted on showing you where you are. That's not really using the medium properly. But this is able to do the establishing shot with the Serenity, but you also see it's on fire. So it's a hook and an establishing shot all in one. And then it takes you into the story. So, well done. I'm going to go ahead and sub to this title and see what the rest of this series plays out, because I did really enjoy the Firefly series, and the Serenity was a good movie, even though I disagreed with a choice or two it made. So, really like that a lot, and going to check it out. I'll let you know how the series goes. And I do hope we hear more from the Dr. Horrible universe in some medium or another, because that would be really great to hear. So let me know if you're a fan, if you enjoyed the Dr. Horrible film or the Serenity film or Firefly series or whatever. Let me know if you're a fan first, because if you're not a fan of any of those series, then these comics won't mean anything to you. So yeah, definitely recommend them only if you're fans of the franchises already. You can see I've got my new computer here all set to go. Whoop. Anyway, don't want to keep playing that. So the computer's great, nice upgraded equipment, and I even have my new mic, which is going to be all hooked up by Wednesday night. So upgrades to the channel are happening. Appreciate everybody's support. Thanks for liking and subscribing. Link to the Patreon is in the description. I definitely appreciate everybody who can support me in that manner, $1, $2 a month or whatever. But if you can't, just thanks for showing up. Thanks for sharing the videos, clicking like, and leaving those comments. Definitely appreciated. We'll get that subscription list up there and up there and up there. We'll be back for an Office Hours live stream tomorrow, Big Al and I, and we're going to announce a new show coming, a new weekly show that'll come. So we'll announce that during the Office Hours live stream. So that's all for now. Until next time, keep enjoying and digging deeper into the hero stories you love. Thanks for watching.